Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for the launch of Colleague AI. This event has been several years in the making, and I'm so thrilled to see so many different perspectives and areas of expertise in our audience today. My name's Janie Greenstein. I'll be facilitating for us today, and my goal is to make sure we engage you, our audience. So on that note, I encourage everyone to introduce yourselves in the chat. Let us know your name, your role or your title, where you're joining us from, and what brought you here today. We'll make sure to leave plenty of time for questions during the Q&A portion of our event. But in the meantime, please feel welcome to share questions and comments in the QA section of your toolbar or in the chat directly, and we'll do our best to address them. We do have a lot to cover in the next hour, so I'm going to give a quick overview of our agenda for today. First, we'll hear directly from Colleague's co-founder and principal investigator, Dr. Min Soon. Dr. Soon will share what motivated her to develop Colleague AI and why it's such a critical tool for today's educators. From there, our teacher panelists will demonstrate how Colleague can be used for finding and generating lesson plans. Next, we'll hear from Colleague's district partner at Puget Sound Educational Service District. In our third demo, we'll learn how Colleague can be used to brainstorm ideas like generating warm-up activities, grading rubrics, and other practical classroom activities. At the top of the hour, we'll share upcoming features in our product development pipeline. Finally, we'll conclude with that Q&A session to answer all of those great questions you've provided in the chat. So on behalf of the entire Colleague team, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. And without further ado, it's my pleasure to pass it off to the brilliant Dr. Min Soon, who will introduce herself and the rest of the Colleague team.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. And thank you all for joining us today. And we are so thrilled to introduce you all Colleague. Colleague is an AI assistant to empower K-12 teachers for high quality and personalized teaching and learning. You may already know this. In the US, teachers spend close to half the time on tasks that either behind their desk or away from their students. In a typical calendar week, on average, teachers spend about 7 hours on individual lesson preparation, another 5 hours on grading, additional 1 or 2 hours per week on professional development, and additional 7 hours on other administrative tasks. This is a total of 21 hours per week on tasks, although essential, but take teachers' energy from what they do the best, which is teaching. Let's just imagine that we can create intelligent tools to streamline all these tasks. That will give the time back to teachers and make teachers be able to focus on their core mission, which is to engaging and inspiring students in the classroom. Let's use lesson preparation as one example. And we all know that lesson preparation is a key first step for effective instruction. However, it's oftentimes tedious, time-consuming. It takes considerable amount of training practice to master both the content knowledge and pedagogical expertise in order to do it right. So let's meet our teacher, Alex. Alex is teaching middle school math. This is her third year of teaching in math. And she works in a school that serves very diverse students population, which also means that she needs to spend additional 3 hours or even more per week to plan in order to meet the wide range of students' needs in language diversity, special educational accommodation, and academic learning progression. Alex, like many other teachers nationwide, use digital education content. And teachers use those content to supplement their district regular curriculum, or they use them to develop their own materials. Those materials found online can vary greatly in quality. When ChatGPT came out in November 2022, by June 2023, this is about 8 months after its release, 63% of a nationally representative sample for teachers reported they have been utilizing ChatGPT for their regular tasks, a variety of those regular tasks on a weekly basis. ChatGPT have not solved the problem, particularly for math education. Schools are concerned that teachers over-rely on ChatGPT or any other this type of general purpose generative AI, mean artificial intelligence technology, just because several reported limitations. This ChatGPT generated material, for example, for math education, it may lack the specificity in math concept. It may also contain mathematical error or imprecision. It may also has inadequate understanding of the pedagogy and students' learning progression. So in another word, teachers rightfully deserve better technology. So Colleague is designed to serve that purpose. Colleague, by serving teachers through its multiple innovations, Colleague first is integrating this cutting-edge artificial intelligence with effective mathematical instruction into its learning algorithms, so AI can vet the quality of the lesson material. That's not all. We also utilize a human expert to verify, validate the material generated in order to ensure a content rigor, engagingness, and inclusivity. Colleague also dynamically generate content in order to tailored to students and teachers' learning needs, as well as their styles. Colleague nudge teachers to modify, edit, improve, while fully respecting their professional expertise. All this innovation is aimed to improve instructional quality, personalized education, and reduce teachers' workload stress to ultimately improve both the quality and equity of students' learning outcomes. We adopted this human-centered approach to develop a Colleague. With a generous support from the National Science Foundation, we were able to conduct market research with 500 educators nationwide to identify their learning needs. We then utilized this information to prototype the initial functionality, build out the alpha version, and did the initial fine-tuning of the general purpose AI models. After we built out the alpha version, starting from this January, we start to work with 20 educators to get their feedback. Then after today, Colleague will be open up to all educators. We will continue the iterative improvement before the full rollout. What you see today is really just the beginning. I envision that in the very short next few weeks, you will experience a vast improvement of Colleague's performance, thanks to the release of the new foundational models, as well as us being able to conduct human feedback reinforcement learning after we have been working with these educators in the last few months. This is some of them. We could not have done this without the collaboration from these amazing educators. If you wanted to learn more about their journey of how they have been teaching our AI assistant, Claire, in the last few months, as well as their journey of exploring how they can integrate AI in their own workflow, and please do check out our website as well as our YouTube channel. I know by now you're probably already tired of hearing from me or my intro motivate you enough to want to learn what is Colleague, how Colleague work. With that, I would love to invite our educator panel and they will show you how they have been integrated the core functionality of Colleague into their regular workflow. With that, can I pass the microphone back to you, Jeannie?
Absolutely. Thanks, Min, and thanks for that context setting. We are excited to move into the demo portion of the event today, and you'll get to hear directly from our teachers, as Min mentioned. So first up, we'll have Florinda, who's going to demonstrate the find lesson function of Colleague. And as you'll see, it's a really useful feature when you want to edit or refine existing materials. So Florinda's going to show us how she uses the AI nudging chat feature to develop inclusive strategies for multilanguage learners and to support students with disabilities. So with that, I'll pass it off to you, Florinda.
Thank you, Janie. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Florinda, and I am a fifth grade teacher at Lake Washington School District. I'm going to share with you today how Colleague can assist in enhancing an existing lesson. Right now, this is a fifth grade lesson, Expressions for Volume. As you can see up here on the top is the standard, and the standard is measure and it's the measurement standard. And we're going to use the nudge button here. And so Min is going to, she already copied and edited. And as you can see, we're going to click on the AI review. Looking at the quality measure, you will see that there is a high quality measure for the main task, but it is lacking in the area of inclusivity. As you can see here in the purple, it is a no. And so this is the area where we would like to make this lesson plan better. So we're going to use the built-in prompts. So click on AI chat, and this is where Claire, the AI assistant, is going to assist us. Click on improve quality measures, and we're first going to choose improve content and engagement for students with enhanced learning for disabilities, for students with disabilities. So built-in prompts are particularly helpful because it is specific to this particular lesson. So when you're asking the AI for assistance, it's speaking of this specific lesson that you're on. So as you can see here, if you can scroll up, it goes through all the parts of the lesson, and the AI assistant is providing you support. So for example, in activity 1, if you can scroll up, Min, in activity 1, here's some suggestions using large print scale, allowing students to use assistive technology. In activity 2, it's giving you ideas that to use manipulatives. These are especially helpful for hands-on activities for those students who might need this. And so already the AI chat is giving me some great ideas that I can use to enhance this lesson. Now we're going to go ahead and improve the quality measure of the second part of being inclusive. And we're going to look at the use of inclusivity for our multi-language learners. So as you click this, it's going to give us more ideas. Again, these ideas are super helpful for this particular lesson. So here's some engagement activities. For the first activity for this specific lesson, AI is asking us, well, you can do matching the expression, using sentence stems or sentence frames to really help those students who might need that language, that academic language. And it goes on to activity 2 and activity 3. So just as you can see, the AI is there to help you for this particular lesson. If you're looking to enhance in the area of inclusivity for your students. And that's for that lesson. So hopefully that gave you some ideas and strategies to help improve a lesson when you're looking for a specific area where you would like to enhance it. And that's how I use it.
Thanks so much, Florinda. It was really fascinating to see how Colleague can be used to help educators like yourself enhance lesson plans and make them more inclusive. So thank you for that. Next up, we'll learn more about how Colleague can help student discourse and group activities at the secondary level. So I'll pass it off to our next demo, Tim.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tim Chalberg. I've spent 9 years as a high school math teacher, and I'm in my second year as a teacher leader working with middle school and high school math teachers across Tacoma Public Schools in Washington. And today I'm going to show you how Colleague can be used to integrate some discourse, but also from kind of integrating professional learning, that traditional professional learning that we engage in as teachers. So let's say I'm a 7th grade teacher. And I have this lesson shown about costs of running a restaurant. And I like this lesson and it's worked well for me in the past. But I'm in a building where everyone's expected to try out an AVID strategy, and that stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And I've been asked to share out in the next PLC meeting about how whatever strategy I picked went. And so I've decided I'm going to use a World Cafe. I've learned a little bit about it, and I'm interested to try it out because it involves students talking in table groups, and I already have my class arranged in table groups. But that's about all I know. So as I skim through this lesson and remember teaching it in the past, I haven't decided if I'm teaching the 2.1 introducing spreadsheets, but I'm definitely going to do 2.2, which we'll see about kind of halfway through. And I realize we're skimming too fast for folks to read, but this is kind of where the heart and soul of the math is, the 7RP, which is a ratios proportion thing. So at this point, I'm going to open up Colleagues Chat, very similar to what Florinda did. But instead of asking for one of its pre-made nudges, we're going to go into the chat feature. And this is what I'm going to put in there. I'm going to ask Colleague to go redesign 2.2, cost per serving, use the AVID World Cafe protocol, write the lesson plan for a teacher who has never facilitated an AVID World Cafe before, include tips for successful facilitation, divide the task into parts that are accomplished at each table, and briefly explain the math students engage in at each table. And we'll see what Claire has for us this afternoon. So we see Claire starting to set this up. I know it's generating real fast, but you can start to see at the bottom we had some tips. We can see that she has suggestions for the tables. We can see some about materials and prep. So it's really written from that teacher lens and helping me figure out how I'm going to facilitate this. So maybe I'd want to tweak around with what's going on at the table groups and think more about the math, but we're not going to do that in this demo right now. But my bigger point here is now my math expertise is more helpful. I'm not spending all my time just trying to wrap my head around the World Cafe protocol. I've got somewhere to start, and it literally took seconds instead of maybe 30, 40, 50 minutes. So we see that it's really nice. And so if we have a little time, I would copy and paste this in probably somewhere around after the launch. I'll give Min a little time to do that. She expertly facilitates all of us in our screen time here. So in it goes. We'll call that good. But again, maybe I want to come back. Maybe I want to check in with a real life colleague who's done this before and say, hey, is this pretty close? But it's really helping me make this professional learning that I've done in person actionable and actually get into my classroom. So lastly, I want to show off the inline feature. And so we're going to go to the very end, this activity synthesis. And let's say that I've put a new practice in my classroom of reflecting at the end of the day with this think, pair, share protocol. And so as I look at this lesson year over year, I'm like, oh, I don't have a think, pair, share at the end yet. So I'm going to highlight this whole synthesis, and then we're going to use that inline feature, and we're going to enter this command, which I'll read out loud so you don't have to scan around it. I'm asking Claire, make a think, pair, share protocol for this debrief. Include prompts and sentence stems for students to think about. So we'll go ahead and hit enter, and we'll see what Claire has for us. And there we see Claire gives some suggested times, but I really want you to take a look at some of those bullets, especially in the pair. We see those 3 sentence stems. The most difficult part of setting up my spreadsheet was the strategies I used to determine the formulas were. And that's really helpful because for me as an educator, I'm still trying to learn sentence stems. They feel surprisingly hard and lengthy to come up with. And so Claire is just saving me a ton of time and really making it more realistic. that I can take these things I've learned about and want to integrate into my practice, and really scrunching down the learning curve and the time it takes, which makes it so much more accessible. And with that, I will hand it back to Janie and the rest of the team.
Great, thanks, Tim. I really appreciated how you underscored how Colleague can be used really practically to generate sentence stems, and how that can be a really time-consuming component of lesson planning. So thank you for that. Next up, we'll hear from Nooper and Haley, who will show us another popular function, generating lessons from scratch. So with that, I'll hand it off to our next teacher, Nooper.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Nupur Arora. I am an educator with the Snoqualmie Valley School District. I have been teaching for 16 years, and for the last 5 years, I've been working as a math interventionist, working with elementary students, kinder through 5. So let's say today I want to find a lesson for my third graders. I want to teach them how to utilize the properties of operations as a strategy for solving multiplication and division problems. So I come to the Colleague platform, and from the left side, from the options that I have, I'm going to select generate lessons. As soon as I click that, this page pops up where there are these multiple fields that need to be filled out. I'm going to start from the right-hand side, and I'm going to select the subject math. I'm going to select grade 3 because this is for my third grade students. And the learning standard, if I happen to know it from the top of my head that it is 3.0A.B.5. But when I click in that field, all the standards pop up. And even if I don't remember what that standard is, if I hover close to it, a description box pops up, which gives me exactly what that standard is. So I'm going to go all the way down to 3.0A.B.5. Now, if you look at this standard actually encompasses multiple properties. It's got the associative property, the commutative property, the distributive property. But I want to focus just on the associative property today. So even though I will choose this standard, I will be very specific when I'm describing my learning objectives. I will just focus on the associative property so that the colleague knows exactly what to generate. So having selected the standard, I will then select my state, which is Washington. And then I will come to the learning objectives field. There I will write students will be able to utilize the associative property of multiplication as a strategy to multiply and divide and solve problems. And I want the title of my lesson to be very concise and mirror what the learning objective is. So I will say, using the multiplicative property, multiply using the associative property of operation. So having filled in all these fields, now I am ready to have Claire draft a plan. So I click on the purple box on the bottom, draft a plan, and lo and behold, within seconds, there's a lesson plan that comes up, mastering multiplication, the associative property in action. It's got all the components of a lesson plan. It's got the learning objectives, the materials, warm up, the explain, reinforce, and cool down. So I've got all those elements of a lesson plan. And as you can see, even though the standard 3.0A.B.5 had multiple properties, we just got a lesson plan for one particular property, which is the associative property. So that's a great feature of Colleague, and it really helps me. This is a great jumpstart for me to be able to tweak it some more. Now, being a math interventionist, oftentimes I need to differentiate it. I am not just limited to one particular lesson. So I utilize Achieve the Core as a resource frequently. In Achieve the Core, I can see the vertical progressions. I can see how the standard aligns with the standards above and below it. So using those vertical progressions is really helpful because I can look at some of the verbs such as apply, review, explore, and use that verbiage when I come back to the colleague platform, and I use that verbiage to generate more lessons. This is an iterative process. I can generate multiple lessons and all of them get housed in the My Documents folder where they are sitting as a draft. So as you can see, multiply using the associative property of operation, that draft gets created. Now, once I like this lesson, then I can go in and I can modify it some more, tweak it to meet my needs. And our next panelist, Haley, is going to be elaborating some more on that aspect. Back to you, Janie.
Excellent. Thanks, Nupur. I'll pass it off to Haley for our next demo.
Hi, my name's Haley Spawn. I'm a middle school math teacher in Federal Way. I'm going to go over how to use the Generate Lessons feature. And first thing we're going to do is going to write our title, Statistics and Math. For my district, it's really important that we're using the curriculum, and that this tool can be used to adapt the iReady curriculum for what students really need that day. If your district does not have a curriculum, it can be used for creating lessons from scratch as well. So when we're going into statistics and math, I'm going to write my learning objective. Students will be able to explain what math means in their own words and generate a scenario where the math concept, little typo, can be applied. I might take that from my district pacing guide for the lesson for the day. It is a math lesson. This is a 6th grade skill. And then I know this is a statistics standard in Common Core. If I don't know which specific one it is, I can hover over, and as you can see, it says the details, and that is the correct standard. So I'm going to click on that one. I'm in Washington State. And then I scroll down and clicked Draft Plan. As you can see, the AI tool is generating the lesson based on what I gave it. So the title, Exploring Math, Analyzing Data with Engaging Activities. It gave us our learning objectives and materials. And then for the warm-up, it says students are going to participate and activate their prior knowledge. I'm going to read through this lesson and model thinking out loud of what things I see and how I would use this tool. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to select everyone's heights on the board and then calculate the mean and sort of share that thinking process because that's a prerequisite skill for this concept. And already I love this warm-up activity it's given me because it's real world and it's activating students' background knowledge. They can see their height, they can see who is taller and who is shorter, so it makes math meaningful and concrete. Also, it has open-ended questions that I can ask students. We love that. You can also highlight and use the AI command tool. I'm going to copy what it just said, and I'm going to say, provide exemplar responses to each of these questions. Then I'm going to paste what it said, enter. So as you can see, it starts off with introducing itself as the AI tool. The 2 data sets may offer in terms of spread and dispersion of the values. One data set may be more wide. So it's really just looking at what we want students to know. If you wanted to include this in your lesson plan, you can click insert below. And then moving on to the explain section. We're going to introduce the concept of mean absolute deviation. And we are looking through this, and especially if I was a new year teacher, I love how AI explains it very succinctly and in a very clear manner. And I can also interact with this if I don't understand something it's saying about the concept, whereas the curriculum guide, I can't interact with. So if I have a question, this AI tool is going to fulfill the needs that I have. And again, we have higher order thinking questions using best practices. Next section is reinforce. So it says that we're going to give them a series of activities and including group work and real world application. It says that I'm going to distribute a worksheet, but it doesn't provide it for me. Another thing I can do here is click, and I would say provide a data set of student height of various sixth graders that students in this lesson can analyze MAD. So it provides that data set. And like I said, you can click insert below and it's going to provide that. If you don't want where it's introducing itself, you can just highlight and erase that. So it goes into group collaboration and always make sure it has that for that student talk aspect and learning from one another. And then the cool down section where you're going to review the objectives and assess what students learned for the day. Again, you can highlight this and provide exemplar responses if you would like, or anything else that you want to interact with. Highlight, use that AI tool. You can also use this button down here to open the chat. It will ask you nudging questions, and you can also ask anything you need to for clarity.
Thanks, Haley. I loved hearing how a colleague was able to help you make the jump to middle school math concepts and how helpful the interactive format is for you. That was great. So I just want to thank all of our teachers who have presented so far. Thanks for joining us at the end of what I imagine was a very busy school day. We're really grateful for your time and expertise. So next, we're going to hear from colleagues partners over at PSESD. We'll hear from Kevin, Monique, and Trin. So I'll pass it off to them.
Hello, thanks, Janie. Thank you, Dr. Sun. My name is Kevin Ikeda. I am the Director of STEM and P3 Systems at Puget Sound Educational Service District, also known as PSESD 121. Joining me are my colleagues, Trin Pham, Director of Educational Technology, and Monique Cabellion, Math Program Manager Extraordinaire. We're thrilled and honored for the opportunity to collaborate with Dr. Sun and team on the colleague AI development. Puget Sound ESD is one of the 9 service districts in the state of Washington. We collaborate and partner with the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, better known as OSPI, and school districts. Our mission is success for each child and eliminate the opportunity gaps by leading with racial equity. You know, as a former math teacher, I struggled with the managerial side of teaching taken away from the instructional side of teaching. I spent hours planning lessons with the hope that I would engage my students. If behaviors broke out in class, it would diminish the learning time and cause me a lot of frustration. I wondered, how great would it be to have a tool to assist me in creating quality lesson plans designed to meet the diversity of learning in my class? Where was colleague when I was teaching? And now it is here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Monique at the Puget Sound ESD, the Math Program Manager. Here at the Puget Sound ESD, we are committed to enhancing student learning through professional developments, learning labs, technology best practices, and various other ways to support our districts and educators in their educational journeys. Colleague was the perfect fit. Our partnership with Dr. Sun and her team began last summer, where she shared her vision of an AI-powered lesson planning platform for her math teachers that would help streamline the lesson planning that you saw here today, reduce teacher workload stress, enhance student engagement, and target the diverse needs of students, and for free. So recently, our collaboration with Dr. Sun has focused on recruiting teachers such as the ones that you've seen here today to train colleague.
And so as we know, technology advances very rapidly, and with AI creating tools for educators and the workforce, while there is no magic wand for great lessons, Colleague is a perfect fit. It will evolve to meet the changing standards, curriculum, technology, and the needs of our students. But most of all, the needs of our teachers who are leading the effort to train our students. Puget Sound ESD is excited to continue collaborating with Dr. Sun and her team to develop future professional learning opportunities supporting and accelerating educators' understanding and implementation of COLLEAGE. We remain committed to fostering strong relationships between our regional districts and the UW research team, with a focus on centering students in all of our work. We thank you for your commitment to professional growth and interest in exploring COLLEAGE, and we look forward to working together to enhance learning and teaching experience and empowering our educators to innovative technology tools such as COLLEAGE and beyond.
Thank you. And back to you, Janie.
Thank you so much, Kevin, Monique, and Trin. Your encouragement and your guidance means so much for us. That's what we are here for the kids and for the teachers. With that, Jeannie.
Yes, very well said, Min. We really appreciate your partnership. So from here, we'll transition into our third segment, brainstorming ideas when you just want to have open-ended conversations with the AI. So I'll pass it off to Corey, who's going to show us how to do that.
All right. Wonderful, Jane. Thank you so much. My name is Corey Needham. I teach in Northern California in Sonoma County. And I want to show you guys about the brainstorm ideas section here. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to go to the brainstorm ideas. And here, it's less formatted for like the generating an actual lesson. I can come in here and I can just say, hey, I have some things that I just kind of want to bounce around, hence brainstorm. And it gives you all of these potential kind of prompts or nudges that you might be interested in looking at. And if you scroll to the top of them, you can see what they are. So interactive lesson planning, engage students by creating dynamic lessons that incorporate multimedia, hands-on activities, and real-world examples. Okay. And of course, you guys can read through all of these and you can kind of pick like, what do I want to kind of talk about a little bit? One that I find myself focusing on a lot is interactive assignment ideation. And so in here, it's going to be generating, engaging in interactive assignments that promote active learning, collaboration, and real-world application concepts. So if I go ahead and jump in here, the first thing that Claire, our colleague AI, is going to introduce herself and then actually ask, could you please tell me more about the course topic and the specific assignment that you would like to discuss? And I'm here to collaborate with you. I actually saw a question that somebody asked about like we've shown about like generating lessons, but what about if we already have an idea in mind? Well, this is where you can kind of go to kind of flesh something out. If you have an idea in mind that's already given to you from a curriculum that you might have, but you want to kind of maybe do something better with it. And I want to highlight just a couple things here. So I've used this quite a few times and I wanted to get some story problems. I have a bunch of just drill and kill, plain Jane, just assignments, and I wanted to kind of spice it up a little bit, and I wanted some math story problems. So what I did is that I came in here and I just said, I teach 8th grade mathematics. I have some students who are totally in love with Taylor Swift, and I need to hit the following standards. And I just threw all my standards straight into there and then just said, can you design some fun story problems around Taylor Swift to hit these standards? And lo and behold, right here, you've got some ideas that are going to come in here talking about her Eras tour that she just did, talking about the stage and the shape and everything. So it gives me some ideas and I can kind of roll with those ideas and I can flesh those out further if I need to, or I can just take them as is. And then from here, I said, okay, well, let's switch it up because I also have students who are big into sports, specifically the San Francisco Giants. Since it's baseball season, what can you design for them? And it goes through, it talks about Buster Posey's batting average, Brandon Crawford's batting average, Gabe Kapler. So talking about the Giants, so it gets those kids involved and it builds me some problems here. The other thing, and I didn't need to do it on this one, but this also would allow me to level up or down. So I could sit here and say, okay, I really like these problems. Let's make these a little bit more challenging. And so that's going to fit my students' zone of proximal development, ZPD. And I can say, hey, make it harder, make some that are a little bit easier. And so I can make sure I'm getting my students' specific area where they need to be at. And then I can come in here I could highlight one of these problems and I could actually even also ask it to create a 4-point grading rubric for me. And so, okay, I'm going to do standards-based grading. I'm going to do a 4-point scale and put together a 4-point grading rubric for this problem, and then for this problem, and then for this problem. And it can really just kind of build those ideas and save me a boatload of time and make a more kind of engaging lesson, in my opinion, than just the standard drill and kill. Then the other one, and this one I really like, and this kind of touches back to what Tim had talked about earlier, is coming in here, I can say, okay, again, I teach 8th grade mathematics. I've got some absolute Swifty fans, and I need to hit these standards. But what I changed up in this one is I said, I don't need to hit all the standards in this single lesson, but I do need help designing a lesson that hits one or more of them and uses the jigsaw strategy. I've heard about the jigsaw strategy in a professional development the other day, but I'm not exactly sure how to implement it. And I think for the teachers in the room, we've all been to a professional development where it means well, and we get just like a word salad of things thrown at us. And we walk away and we go, I feel like there was a lot of good information and I wrote a lot of things down, but I don't exactly know how to use them particularly. And as a new teacher, I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years now, still new, but when I was at the beginning, I felt like this a lot. And so by using Colleague here, I can go in and say, okay, cool, I want to do this. And it designed the assignments for me. And I responded, okay, I'm going to need some help detailing the lessons, but I really want to focus on that jigsaw strategy and how it works within what you have suggested for this assignment. And then Claire went through and outlined what the jigsaw strategy is and how it would work within the confines of the lesson that I've asked for. I was then able to go in and, in my own words, clarify what I thought the jigsaw strategy was, and then ask, do I have that correct? And Claire was able to then just confirm that to me that, yep, you have it right. This is what you do. This is how you implement it. This is how it works. And I find that super helpful. I like to think of Colleague AI as a productivity maximizer. Min talked about that 21 hours earlier, about how we just spend a lot of time, unfortunately, not teaching. And this allows me to then, as a new teacher, take like an idea that I've heard about, and rather than go to an actual like real life colleague and take their time as well, I get to just sit here with, Colleague AI, Claire, and flesh this out on my own and really get a better understanding for these new professional developments. So I think it also enhances the professional developments that, in my opinion, sometimes are a little bit lacking. And I think that's a really powerful way to use the brainstorm section here, so we can access more time in our schedule and, really kind of better be able to teach our assignments. So back to you, Janie.
Thanks, Corey. And can I just say, I would love to be in your class if you're adapting your lesson plans for Taylor Swift fans. But also, it was really helpful to know that teachers can use Colleague to translate and implement new concepts from PD. I think you used the word salad, which I liked, and use a strategy like Jigsaw and apply it in a more practical way. So with that, we will move to Miranda.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you all here. I am Miranda. I teach elementary education and I am an ELD specialist in Oregon. I'm also going to be taking you through the brainstorm ideas function. It's one of my favorites because I find that I often already have like really solid lessons just from teaching the same content year after year and really going through and refining that. So when I come in here, I'm not always looking for a full lesson. I'm just looking for little pieces that I can add to what I'm doing to improve things. So I'm going to focus on SEL today because there are a lot of quick, simple ways that you can integrate SEL into your day and even into the curriculum that you are teaching. So when I come into the brainstorm ideas section, I actually don't use any of the pre-created drop downs. They're amazing. I do recommend that you look through them, but I just like start chatting. So I think of anything that I would ask an actual colleague, and that is what I would put into the chat here. And I have found when you start with a really broad request, you'll get very broad responses, but you can definitely start there with just what are some ideas for incorporating SEL into my warm-ups? And that's a very broad request. I might get something more like language arts based or something that's just very general SEL, not really tied to a curriculum in any way. But it might give me some interesting ideas that I can build off of. So when I pop something very general into the chat like that, you will see that it's recommending things like a mood meter, mindfulness or breathing exercises, journaling prompts, or movement-based activities. And all of these are great things if I was thinking of like a class meeting, or I just had some spare time, you know, those little lulls in your day when they throw something in like a fire drill, and now you have 3 minutes before it's time to leave and you just need something fun. But I actually want to relate this more to the content that I'm teaching as I kind of segue into my lesson. And that's just going to help my students kind of start to connect with one another, feel more comfortable, maybe reduce their anxiety and stress going into math, especially for those students that don't have super positive feelings about math. So I can get more specific, and I can ask colleague to generate 5 warm-up ideas around SEL for a lesson on 3rd grade fractions. And I always like to give it a quantity to produce for me because I feel like 5 is pretty solid. If I ask for 5, I'm hoping that I'll really like 1 or 2 of the 5 that come back. And that doesn't mean that 3 or 4 of them are not good. It just means that hopefully 1 or 2 are exactly what I'm hoping to find out of what I get back. And then I've also refined it with the grade level. So it knows that we're looking for more like 3rd grade students. And I've also included that I'm teaching fractions. So the responses that I'm getting now are more aligned with what I'm teaching and the age of my students. So this is suggesting fraction feelings check-in, where they can draw a face on a sticky note to represent how they're feeling about learning fractions. Fraction gratitude, asking students to think of something they're grateful for that relates to fractions or math. I think this would be a good one to connect with sentence stems also. So if I was going to use that one, I would maybe ask it to generate some sentence stems that could go along with it. Fraction affirmations, just some positive self-talk around fractions. Fraction visualization, where they imagine themselves successfully working through a fraction problem. And then fraction cooperation. This is a new one. I haven't seen this pop up yet, so that's exciting. Organize them into groups and challenge them to come up with a creative way to demonstrate or explain a fraction concept using only nonverbal communication. That's actually really fun and something I would probably look more into. So the 2 that I like right now are fraction affirmations and fraction cooperation. So what I would do is from there, just kind of pick the one that I really like and then go back to the chat to further develop it. So I'm going to ask it now to give me some ideas of fraction affirmations. So I want it to give me, let's say 10 ideas, Min, if you can, please. So give 10 ideas for fraction affirmation statements for 3rd grade. And again, I like to put in the grade level. That way I'm not getting really complex vocabulary back that my students wouldn't understand or probably maybe be able to read. And then again, I'm asking for 10 ideas because in this, I'm looking for something I can actually use in my classroom. So now I've gone from something very broad to something I think I'll implement this. So I'll ask for 10, and my hope is that I would get maybe 5 or 6 that are perfect for what I'm looking for. So we'll see what we get out of here. Okay, so these are just really positive statements that my students could use. So things like, I am a fraction expert in the making. I can break whole numbers into equal parts. Comparing fractions is getting easier for me. Fractions are an important part of math. And number 9 is great too. I'm not afraid to make mistakes when learning fractions. So what I would do from here is pull the ones that I like the best, maybe print them out on Post-its, and students could take the Post-it that they connect with the best, and then they could partner up with somebody who picked maybe the same statement that they picked or a different statement, and they could talk about why they picked it, maybe why they didn't pick the other one, and really just start to build those connections and ease into what might be a very challenging lesson in a way that feels a little more comfortable and sets them up for success. So that is a way that you can use it to kind of spark some ideas just for very, very small, specific sections of your lesson. This would take me maybe, 2-3 minutes to do in my classroom at most, but would really benefit the students. So that's one of the ways that I like to use brainstorming ideas.
Thanks so much, Miranda, for sharing how you use Colleague for SEL warmups. And it was great to see how you refined your lesson plan on fractions and got to those fraction affirmations. So I just want to extend another big thank you to Miranda and Corey for these demos. From here, we are going to pivot to Kevin, and we're going to hear about exciting new features we can expect from Colleague in the coming months. So I'll pass it to you, Kevin.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, everyone. Thanks to be here. And I'm the tech lead of the Colleague. We have several product features that currently under development and testing. The first feature is browser extensions. It seamlessly integrates the Colleague within your browser to streamline the workflow, increase the productivity, and provide instant access to those powerful tools such as AI command, brainstorm idea inside any website. So let's watch a quick video. So this videos you can find on our YouTube channel, and you can also download the browser extension. There's a link directly on our front page. So the second feature is the simulation. So yeah, this is the link. Okay. So you can go to my document, open lesson plan. So this is a lesson plan created by Newpar just a couple minutes ago. And imagine she wants to simulate this lesson plan before implementing in her classroom, right? So let's click this simulation button. As you can see, system is simulate a classroom settings with 3 students who has different profiles and one teacher. It generates their interactions and conversations, as you can see here. And then at the end, there's a review. This is AI reviewer of recommendations to update each section of the lesson plan, which with detailed examples and explain the rationale behind those each recommendations, such as section by section, very detailed. So in the future, user will have more flexibility to define like their own kind of different kind of characters and the classroom environment to run simulations. In addition to these, we will add more product features to solve teachers' pain point in the formative assessment, gradings, provide individualized student feedback. We'll also add more STEM subject areas. For example, in collaboration with UW graduate students and the classroom teacher, we are developing our own original lesson plan materials about AI and machine learnings for high school AP computer science courses. So there's a lot of like features, materials in our pipelines. Stay tuned. Now back to you, Jenny.
Thanks, Kevin. It's great to see all those exciting updates in the pipeline, and I love the enthusiasm we were getting in the chat. So at this time, we'll move into the Q&A portion of our event. So it's your chance to ask your questions and get them answered. We'll ask that you put any questions you have either in that Q&A function or directly in the chat. And Min and Kevin are ready to provide answers. So I'm going to start with one of the first questions we got. Someone asked, we have a guaranteed viable curriculum in Federal Way. Are there any user limitations on inputting published materials, or would we need to contact our publisher about that?
That's a great question. I mentioned that I would love to take the opportunity to answer that live. I would say it depends on what type of published materials. For example, as you saw on Colleague platform, we have a number of published materials, but those are all under Creative Commons license. That means that teachers can utilize, edit, and can share with other teachers as well. So for those kind of content, we don't have to worry so much at this moment, and teachers can just utilize the platform, the repository already on Colleague platform to use that. However, if you, your district have adopted a curriculum and the publisher has a closed source, that means like they own the copyright, they would not want teachers to share. And so when teachers use in our platform, it will store in their My Document folder. And that's also mean that the teachers own the material, they have it, it's in their folder. And as long as they don't share with other teachers, I think I would strongly recommend you check in with the publisher and see if that is allowable. And we will not utilize that data to train our algorithm. And because all our algorithm fine tuning are coded by human experts utilizing the data we already have. So if at some point we need to utilize a sort of a teacher's activity data on the platform to train our algorithm, we will get teachers' explicit consent to do so. So that's my brief response. Anything else folks wanted to add in? Or follow-up questions. I think that is so important. That's why on the platform, we mainly feature Creative Commons license in our repositories.
Thanks for that response, Min. So our next question is around, we gave some answers about what Colleague was trained on, but they wanted to know, when you're doing this work specifically for story problems, where's that data coming from? And they said that they know AI is still a work in progress, but for batting averages and other details, is that accurate? Is that the latest data? And can we access the sources that are being used if needed, in case you need to double check that those are indeed the right batting averages?
Oh, and so I can provide a really generic answer response to that. And then Corey, you probably more a baseball fan than I do and know the statistics so much better than I do to see how accurate they are. From a background sort of sort of methodology perspective, no, AI right now is not pulling data because we didn't ask AI to search the internet and then pull data. They shouldn't be from one given year unless we explicitly request the AI to go search on the internet, find 2023 baseball game result, then it may go to do the search and then get the data for you. At this moment, the algorithm is mainly sort of generate the data.
All right, our next question. Someone wanted to know if the lesson plans always follow the same structure, warm up, explain, practice, and cool down like we saw in the demos, or if there are other lesson structures and how you might produce them. And then as a follow-up, are teachers or users able to adjust how long they have for the lesson and the timing?
Yeah, I saw and our math educator experts already answered that question to some degree. So I just wanted to repeat some of their response. I think they're right on point. The generated lesson, as you saw, so there are, let me share my screen one more time if it's okay. As you see on the colleague platform, once you get in, there are three functions. One is a fun lesson. Here you can filter fund from existing repository. That is what I was sharing. As you see, like all this is under Creative Commons. We acknowledge the original source and telling you the licensing type, hoping that you will respect this licensing type policy as well. And then this generated lesson, it will generate the entire lesson, follow that given specific flow from warm up to explain, reinforce, cool down. That's what we feel our research team, after looking at so many lesson materials, particularly for math instruction, feel like that flow really informative to teachers. Of course, you can, because if you saw when Newport generated this, she can edit whatever way she wish. Or Haley, you saw like Haley's demo of editing this. If you don't like it, you can totally change this to anything else as you wish. And so for, I know like Miranda and a couple of others respond, if you don't want to follow that structure, if you don't want to generate the entire lesson, you can come over here and there's Claire, our AI agent, will work with you step by step, and then you can build your lesson material from here. In the future, in here, generated lesson, we have talking about the possibility of developing different flows. Then you can choose the one best fit for you. Given that we have a brainstorm idea, this section, we feel like it's able to serve the need at this moment. But let us know, because like I mentioned, this is definitely, we are iterating this pretty fast. We utilize your feedback. If you have any feedback or any request on future functionality, please do let us know. We really appreciate that. I'm not sure if I entirely answer all the questions, but let me pause there. Jeannie, if you can give me a check-in to see like if any other part of the question I haven't answered, I'd love to respond. Or any of the folks on the educator panel wanted to chime in, feel free as well.
I think you covered it pretty comprehensively, but I'll pause and see if there's any other of our educators that want to add anything on. Great, thanks, Min. Well, I'm excited to get to our next question. I think they're all really great questions. Someone wanted to know, is there a bias dependency interacting with the AI?
Wow, what a great question. To us, bias may exist at three different stages, right? The first stage is what type of training data do we utilize to fine-tune the algorithm, or to I think that will be like what kind of a human input we put in as well in the later stage of the algorithm development. So in another word, sum up the input data and how representative those input data are going to be, how precise, accurate, how informative those data are going to be, gonna definitely determine not only the bias but accuracy of the algorithm, the usefulness of the generated content as well. So that is the part we spend 2 years, thanks to a National Science Foundation grant, the core research grant. We've been hiring teachers, hiring mass education researchers to code the data, validate. So we're working really hard on that. And so that's why, like some of you met hear about Colleague 2 years ago, and we just started to sort of show you the alpha version, just because we took the time to really clean up the data, code data, and just to ensure that we did our best to capture the best practice of classroom instruction, as well as the coders. We tried our best to make them representative as well. And the second part of the whole pipeline is the algorithm training methodology itself, particularly the reinforcement learning, like who are giving, which type of human giving feedback to the algorithm. That's the part we're also working really hard trying to reach out to teachers from different areas and work with different type of students as well to give us input. And the last part about bias is really about use. How do you use the information generated from the platform? For that, I feel like we really appreciate the human-centered AI partnership approach that I see some of my colleagues from OSPI here as well. I've been learning so much by working with OSPI and learn about how they have been adopting the start from the human needs to a human-centered AI and to serving like solving human problem, right? So and we equally embrace that framework, basically say that ultimately we still need educators. You use your professional judgment to vet the material. That's why all the content generated on Colleague, we allow you to fully edit. We also have the nudging function. If you saw that both Tim as well as Haley and Florinda demonstrate, right? They use the nudging chatbot, always ask you, did you miss this? Did you miss that? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And so there we remind you, right? When you use this information, make sure to edit, modify, justify, disregard, delete, and start from something new. Every time, even if you use the same prompt, it will generate a slightly different response for you. So if you are unhappy with the first response, regenerate, right? Until the moment you get the one you feel like the best fit your education value, your district policy, as well as the district instructional framework as well. So all this, I will say that if you run into any issues, please do let us know as well. We are collecting feedback so we can also refine our prompts and also build in further guardrails as well.
On the website so people can see that, or put it in the chat or something.
Yes, I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, nice, thank you.
The nudging?
No, the feedback. On the bottom, share feedback.
Yeah, this is awesome. The other place we have not shared with you yet today is here. Okay. So this is the Colleague online community. So here you can post, and we will monitor this as well. And we will post some tutorial, other type of material. And so we can all engage through this process, work as a team. That's why we have many of you who are friendly users helping us to further improve the platform.
Thanks, Min. That was a great answer. I'll just again pause and see if there's any other panelists or participants who want to weigh in. Okay, hearing none, we'll move to our next question. And again, thank you everyone for all of the great questions. I'm gonna just in the nature of doing demos, someone wanted to know, can Claire be used while in the lesson? They're still a little uncertain where to find Claire, so maybe we can just show that if possible.
And that was my question. I'm Jennifer Tyson.
Jennifer.
I know I'm using it, and that was my. I mean, I'm helping to develop it, and that's my question. To be more specific, one of the presenters was saying that I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. Was saying that he used in the chat part, just not in the lesson itself, to come up with. Yeah, so that is in brainstorming ideas, so that you can have that conversation with Claire in the lesson, like what you just showed.
This type of a conversation?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you are, let's go back to any of the lesson we just worked on. If you are here, and make sure it's in the editing mode.
Yes.
And once you are here, then once you bring it out, you can have the same prompt as Corey did. Corey, if you can help me, will be like redesign.
Yeah, I can jump in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I can just talk about it, but if you have a lesson and it's in your documents and you say, wow, like this would be a great, like, if I know I want to do kind of like a group activity or something, and I'm familiar with and I know what the jigsaw activity is, and I'm aware of how to use it, I can just say, hey, highlight that section, and in line or in the chat, in the assistant right here, I could say, take this section and make it useful and use it turn it into a jigsaw activity, turn it into a jigsaw strategy activity.
Okay.
And so you'd be able to say, hey, like this, I already have a lesson. I like what it is. I just want it to be a group activity so that kids are more interactive with one another rather than just sitting here and doing it by themselves.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. I just didn't make that connection that those two were the same thing. So that's what thank you for that clarification.
Thanks. I was trying to type in Taylor Swift, then I see Jigsaw, and then I wasn't sure what to type in. So I'm glad you got it, Jennifer.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Jennifer. I liked it because it showed me that you're really using Colleague actively. So I'm glad you asked. I think this next question is very related, and I see some answers in the chat, but Min and team, is there an asynchronous training available to learn how to use the tool most effectively?
Yes, we are very much available, and I will acknowledge our funders very quickly towards the end of today's session. So with their generous support, we are able to just offer free training, and whenever you are, we'd be happy to travel to or offer this virtual training just for your school, your district, and also think about like how do we best integrate into, like in terms of the training, integrate into your district instructional framework as well, or your schools, like for example, like when Tim demonstrated his school is an avid school, right? So we can develop some materials and work with you to do some of that work.
Great.
Can I add to it? You have the YouTube channel where there are lots of videos already there. So that can be a great starting place. If you need something that is already there, you can get it from there. And if not, then obviously, like Min said, there will be future opportunities for asynchronous sessions.
our website will also post if you there are a couple of things we will post in next few weeks. One is, as Newper mentioned, we will post more of those use cases, just like our teachers demonstrate today. You will find more of these in the upcoming few weeks on our YouTube channel to perform a given task, what they like, what they dislike, the generated content, how do they go from there. So that is one source or one tab. And the other tab is where clean up our notes and also post some prompts our teacher generate by utilizing the tool. It's helpful for using colleague, but I think it's also useful to teachers to utilize any other AI tools. And just because we receive a federal grant to do this, we wanted to open up all the knowledge and resources we generate as much as possible. And so, of course, reach out to us. We'll offer the contact information soon. So connect with us. We'd be happy to support you.
Great. Our next question is colleague capable of using voice instead of text?
Oh, I'm so happy you asked this.
The feature is on the way. Yes. So right now we support like a text to voice. So there's a speaker onto it, and you can select any content, and then it will read the content. Yeah, here, and then the speech to text, the feature is under development. I hope can make it available in 2 weeks. And also we are significantly improve this text to speech as capability as well. So that one probably gonna come out during the weekend, like this weekend. Over this weekend, we're gonna release that. You can try it out. So that new text to speech capability not only support like English, also support a variety of like multilingual.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to add to that. We recognize that a very important part of we feel like we want to support teachers to do is to support the multi-language learners. And Florinda today demonstrated a couple of ways from a pedagogical perspective, in terms of from a technology perspective. Of course, for the content here, you can just highlight like speak, and it will start to speak. And then for the AI assistant, you can ask to speak. You can ask to translate, as Kevin just mentioned.
Thanks, Kevin and Min. It's not often you ask about a feature and the answer is it's coming this weekend. So great job. So our next question, which I think is an excellent follow-up, is how do we get the opportunity to demo this tool? And if you're at a school, do you have a data privacy agreement already in place for certain school districts? So I'll pass it back to you both.
I can start. Kevin, you should feel free to chime in. And again, I think your question already anticipates what we wanted to share with you as well. And our UW commotion, and we have an innovation manager who happens to be an attorney, help us to develop the initial draft of user agreement, and then work with the district if a given term need to be modified.
And also to add on to this is you can find the existing privacy policy and then term of use on our platform at the bottom of the website.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is very much important. I think the privacy part, right? And so let me just show you very quickly in terms of where to get to. Once you get onto colleague, see, let me move Zoom. And here you can get the privacy policy here. And when you register, you will get the term agreement as well. And so that's where what you were, right?
Yes, at the bottom, scroll down at the bottom, there has like both link, the term of use.
Oh, term of
yes. Mm-hmm.
And just to add, districts, depending on your size, have contract management and procurement specialists. And so you would go through them and share this information with them to develop that, because most districts would have to go to that person that goes to the evaluation coordinator and then to superintendent for signatures. And so it's just kind of that route.
Yeah, the one thing is because our OSPI, who is really leading in the country to think about AI adoption, AI policies, whatever policy they come up with in the future with regard to AI ethics, data related policy, we will make sure to follow. I know California also developing or they may already have policies as well. So in addition to the federal AI data policy, we will make sure we follow the state-specific guideline as well.
Excellent. Well, on the similar topic of privacy, can you tell us what is recorded when using Colleague?
Kevin, do you want to take that?
Sure. So we store your like all the chat histories and the documents, because we have to store it, otherwise we cannot play the history back to you. And also your basic user informations like emails and username.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, our final question before we have to wrap up. Will Colleague AI always be free?
We're able to offer it for free is because those generous funding from our current funders. In the future, I don't know yet, we'll see. This is our core mission. You will let me share my screen in terms of who we are. You will know, like, many of us are nerds. We just wanted to really innovate here in this space. And I just saw a recent report from McKinsey and Corporation, the consulting firm, which map out like how AI can generate the social values, the social goods, right? And then they also map out the potential opportunities. Education is ranked as one of the greatest potential of applying AI to generate social goods, improve students' learning, and improve their life quality in the future. However, it's just the low level of deployment at this moment due to, in general, lack of funding, as well as lack of innovation in this space. So we really wanted to come in, stay in this space, and continue to innovate as well. So that will be our core mission, innovation, as well as serving the social goods. And we are very much driven by that mission.
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for the excellent questions. I think it made our presentation that much better just hearing from all of you. And we'd love to continue the conversation with you offline. So definitely feel free to reach out. So Min's going to close us out with some acknowledgements and, most importantly, a call to action.
Thank you so much. This is our research team, and I may not include everyone who has and will contribute to the foundational research of a colleague. As you see, we have folks and from the field of education, from data science and machine learning, as well as from teacher learning, and thinking about the curriculum instruction aspects, as well as learning engineering. And in the future, when we start to develop the automatic formative assessment generation, auto grading, as well as individual students' feedback, we'll bring like psychometricians and assessment expert into our teams as well. For development and engineering, Kevin is leading the software development. We have a UX UI designer as well as backend engineer. Jeannie has been helping us to do market research. And this is Adam. I want to give him a special shout out, supporting us along the way, and our advisors who has been fabulous supporting us, as well as our dean's leadership team. This is our funder. I've been mentioning them multiple times, so I'm looking at we're already 1 minute past. the call for action. I feel like moving forward to make this tool really useful to you all, we really need you. And if you haven't registered a free account yet, please do so if our today's presentation motivates you enough. The second is, like I mentioned, to schedule a free in-depth demo and training with us. We'd be happy to. You can send to info@colleague.ai or just reach out to me directly. The last is we're on social media. Connect with us over there. Thank you so much for joining us today.